Athletic Brewing Company is reimagining beer for the modern active adult. Their great tasting athletic craft brews let you enjoy the refreshing taste of craft beer without the alcohol or the hangover. You can enjoy them anytime, anywhere, and still be healthy, active, and at your best. And when AB won North American Brewer of the Year at the International Beer Challenge, the judges were shocked to find out it was alcohol-free. I mean, seriously? Buzz-free beer that is better than the rest? And to top it all off, as part of Athletic Brewing, Two for the Trails program, 2% of all their sales are donated to causes and organizations that support healthy, outdoor active living through park and trail cleanup and maintenance. Whether you've decided to cut alcohol out of your life for good, for a night, or just one drink, Athletic Brewing Company provides an option without compromises that you're guaranteed to enjoy. To try their award-winning non-alcoholic beers, go to athleticbrewing.com. Use the code PNF20. You'll save 20% off your first order. There is free shipping on orders of 2 6-packs or more, or you can use their store finder to find it on shelves near you. Athletic Brewing. Brew without compromise. This segment is brought to you by Jig Masters. Step up your game with high-quality performance jigs, spinner baits, buzz baits, and more from jigmasters.com. And always, when in doubt, get the jig out.
You're listening to Bass Fishing for Noobs on the Paddle and Fin podcast with your hosts Ryan Milford and Sean Lavery.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Bass Fishing for Noobs here on the Paddle and Fin podcast. I'm your host, Sean Lavery. With me is my trusty co-host, Mr. Ryan Milford. How's it going, Ryan?
What's going on, Sean?
Not much, man. So thanks everybody for joining us once again. Before we jump into our guest, my good friend Ryan has something he wanted to share with y'all, so I'll let him break that down.
Yeah, I wanted to shout it out for anybody that's local to me, Middle Tennessee area, that I'm going to be kind of helping out with a trail. If people that listen, if you remember Ethan Jett towards the end of the year, we had him on, interviewed him. Well, he's started up this little trail out at Williamsport here, local. It's ran by TWRA. It's like it's basically you're going to have 3 of these ponds to choose from if you've never been out there. But yeah, it's kayak, canoe, boat, bank fishing, all that. Since they're small and trolling motor only, we decided to let everybody in on it. It's still catch, photo, release. No turn the X or nothing like that because hardly anybody gets a signal out there. So it's just going to be take your picture, everybody go to check in and check it on your phone. But yeah, it's going to be pretty cool. If you are interested in something like that and you live in the local area or decide you want to travel, you can join the Williamsport Bass Trail Facebook group and you can get more information there. We got a schedule up and all that good stuff. So hope to see some people out there.
That sounds pretty exciting. Congrats on getting in on that, man. That sounds cool.
I'm going to help the best I can with that. You know, I've been having to work some Saturdays and you know, kids are going to be in sports. So I probably won't be able to make all of them, but you know, I'm going to help them at the ones that I'm at. So yeah, should be a fun time. I really like it out there. It's a cool place to fish. It's got Florida string bass. It's where I caught my PB, that big 23-incher.
Nice.
Fat one. So yeah, it's got some good fish out there.
Cool. Well, tonight we have a guy who's actually somewhat local to me. We'll let him in here in a second, but he's been on YouTube for a long time. He's been kayak fishing for a long, long time. He, got into this sport back before most of us were even thinking about it. So he's got a lot of great experience. He's got a good YouTube channel, lots of stories I'm sure to share. So without any further ado, we'll welcome Mr. John Oast from the Fish Yacker YouTube channel. Welcome to the show, John.
What's up, guys? Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us, man. So like we usually do with our guests, we'll first let you just introduce yourself, where you're from, how you can tell how you got into kayak fishing, and we'll go from there.
I think I can remember that far back. Well, I'm originally from Portsmouth, Virginia, right there next to Virginia Beach. So I grew up saltwater fishing. That was, my bread and butter back in the day. I even used to guide down that way. A lot of people think I'm just mostly a smallmouth guy, but I was kind of telling you the story before we got on air. I've only been living actually in PA since 2009. And prior to that, I probably could count the number of smallmouth I'd ever caught my entire life on one hand. But people forget about that. So, yeah, I grew up on the water on the Elizabeth River down in Virginia, right around the corner from the Coast Guard base in Portsmouth. And my dad was a Coast Guard officer and in the reserves. And so I grew up around the water. Ended up after college, moved up to Williamsburg, helped start the Williamsburg Kayak Fishing Association. I don't know, like 2000-ish, something like that. Mainly because we were fishing a lot of like tidal cypress swamps and realized our glass boats couldn't get into it. So we started going out of canoes, realized canoes were pretty much miserable, and started fishing out of sit inside recreational kayaks, and bang, here you are, like, I don't know, 21 years later, something like that. So I guess it was an accident. Yeah.
You start out with a definitely some old school kayaks, I'm sure. Nothing compared to what you're running today. I know you're running a new canoe, right?
Yep. Right now I got a whole bunch of different new canoes. They're just amazing fishing platforms.
Yeah, I was telling John before we started that a bunch of the paddle and fin guys have jumped on the new canoe bandwagon. So I don't know that I told him I was going to go to one of our local outfitters and paddle or test paddle one. Ryan, I think, is in the same boat.
Yeah, so, they're great. Yeah, I went with them just after the Classic last year. Yeah,
that's right. Nice. You got Jimmy's, right?
Yeah, well, the one that he was using.
Yeah,
nice.
I forgot about that.
Yeah,
now I'm feeling really alone.
Haven't even used it though.
So cool, man. Well, yeah. So you definitely have a lot of history in the sport. So that's cool. So what got you into YouTube?
That's probably even a better story, to be honest. I'm a career law enforcement officer, right? So I'm one of those guys that has to be like, 100% to be at work, or you're not allowed to go to work. Was back in, I don't know, I was already had a couple of different sponsors, been doing a few events and things, traveling a little bit. But in 2007, like right after YouTube started, I was actually doing what a lot of us say you shouldn't do. I actually picked up a kayak over my head and got a hernia. Ended up getting surgery over it, and was just basically laid up at home, bored out of my freaking mind. Now, it was before there was any like commercially available stuff, right? So I just started like jerry rigging stuff in the garage with this old like Sharp, like hinged handy cam thing, whatever the heck it was, a built-in screen on the back. I mean, it looked like an old like freaking tape deck or something. Yeah. So I was just doing that in the backyard and in the shed and just filming stuff and throwing it on YouTube before there was anybody even on it. And it just went from there, all because of a hernia. So it's not really any good, exciting story, just kind of pitiful.
I have a kayak hernia too, so I know exactly what you're dealing with.
So, moral of the story is don't pick your kayak up over your head, because you'll and there you go for the noobs. Don't do this thing, or you'll be on the table.
I don't know. It might work out. It might launch you.
You might get a YouTube.
YouTube.
Yeah, you either get abs or cut. The wrong type of cut.
So you wouldn't recommend that part?
Yeah, it didn't work out for me.
It was the mean. It justified the ends justify the means, right? So you get to be a
YouTube channel.
That's right.
With 5.5 million views or something. You never know.
You could have just did that in your spare time instead of like creating spare time to do it in. But yeah.
But I was like, I'm like, what? Like I said, YouTube was like in its infancy. It was like 6 or 8 months old at the time.
Wow.
So I'm like, I'd make videos.
Yeah.
It was an accident.
How long did it take before it really kind of took off for you?
It was pretty quick. I mean, you figure back then, Spike had a couple of videos out like in Malibu area. You had Jim Salmon's pre-kayak fishing show, had a couple of his like La Jolla kayak fishing stuff. I mean, we're talking old school. So anybody that went on and looked up kayak fishing on YouTube, I was like number one. It was only, like I said, it was only 3 of us doing it. Rhino had a few videos. Really, it was like 4, if anybody, like total like 4.
Wow.
It was so. I mean, within like a year, I had like 3,000 subscribers, and I'm like, what the heck? And I had no comprehension of like what YouTube was all about until like, I don't know, probably 5 or 6 years later. I'm like, you can actually do stuff with YouTube. So yeah, it was. You didn't think about it. It was just like a place where you could just basically upload your home movies.
Right.
But yeah, it was only like 3 or 4 of us.
So back then, like you were like doing it completely for free. Like there wasn't no monetization. Hang on, I'm getting tongue twisted with this word. Monetization.
Monetization.
You can't get monetized back then. And yeah, we got to edit that out. That sounds yeah, you couldn't get monetized back then and all that. And I guess people hadn't thought about, well, I can get sponsors to pay me to advertise their stuff on here yet. So y'all were just doing it for the love of the sport back then, I guess, huh?
That's all it was. There was no kayak fishing. It was just you fished and you fished out of a kayak. So you went out and you found a local, found a recreational kayak. We're fishing out of sitting sides. The guys on the West Coast were mostly using them for offshore, either going out like with little frenzies and stuff and just dumping over bait to go shark fishing from the surf, or they were taking them out like Rhino and Spike and those guys are going out like shark fishing out of them. They had the old Malibu 2s back in the day, and that was like the cutting edge modern kayak was those kayak Malibu 2. Like, oh, that thing's cool, man. You could fit 3 people on it and a lot of gear. And they were out there doing that. If you ever get a chance, go on and you'll see the kayak fishing for like thresher shark style or thresher fishing like yak style or something, where they're catching like freaking threshers out of a Malibu 2. So yeah, we were just using them because you could like duck under logs and get around cypress trees and stuff. That's why we were using them, because 10 canoe would just scare everything in their mom away. So it was just like, yeah, but there was no kayak fish. Kayak fishing wasn't a thing. It was just some way to get where you were going.
And I'm sure you DIY everything pretty much back then, because there wasn't your yak attacks and your, crates and, everything was probably, hey, and that's why, I think where some of the YouTube stuff really took off is because you could show your ideas and how you rigged, and people would be like, oh my gosh, look at that. He solved that problem, and I could build that same thing. So
yeah, swivel snap. Yeah, a swivel snap, a piece of rope, and some like Velcro tape. Give me like 1 second. I'll show you this. I'm going to break everything. But for the history buffs here, this is an original prototype Visipole.
Yeah, look at that.
Check that out, dude. Original first generation bungee. Even had like metal leader material holding it together. So ancient history, yeah. At the time, I was one of the guys that helped introduce like Luther into kayak fishing way before any of this like industry stuff. But yeah, we were all fishing down around the Hampton Roads Bridge Tunnel, and we're like, we need lights, and we were just jacklegging whatever, or using these like Atwood boat flashlights over our shoulder. And he and this guy named Bob just said, "Hey, let's start making stuff." And I don't know if anyone else even has any more of the prototypes. The first Yak Attack product prototype. So that dates it right there.
That's a piece of history right there.
That's crazy. I've heard Luther talk about those, like the rooms that they made, and I had never seen one before.
Yeah, it was like revolutionary, but it was funny because like this was ancient.
I was going to say the production quality has changed quite a bit in the years, but it still
looks
like
still work.
This one's like I took the batteries out because it's so old. It started like eating up and stuff. Okay. And yeah, it can easily replace me as a tech titan. I mean, it's a little salt water corrosion in it, but yeah, it's all the parts are still here. New batteries, I'm sure it'll work.
That's cool.
That's yeah. So my cave here is kind of, I don't know, like an archive in a way. I got all sorts of stuff in here, not just some junk behind me.
It looks pretty impressive. I'm I'd like to go shopping.
Yeah, you don't want to know what's behind the doors. You really don't. You just collapse.
So you've talked a little bit about that. You started off in Richmond and did a lot of red fishing there, right? And then you moved up north by me into my neck of the woods, and you started smallie fishing a lot more probably. Would you say that's your favorite, or do you miss the redfish fishing? Or
I miss redfish, and I'd never shoveled snow till I moved here, right? So and with all the that 4-letter word that starts with a C started this time of year, I'm usually back down south several times, hanging out in Florida, Virginia Beach, the whole South. But yeah, my love is still redfish, speckled trout, and especially like the lower Chesapeake Bay stuff. That's what I grew up doing off our pier in the backyard as a kid. Yeah, I mean, like everybody says, smallmouth pound for pound or one of the best fighting fish. But yeah, you get like a upper 20-inch, redfish. I mean, it's a freaking tank the way they just like do a U-turn on you. So I mean, that's yeah. And going into like the cypress swamps where you really don't know what you're going to catch. Where I mean, I've been miles way up in the creeks off of Chickahominy River and caught a striper. Next cast, catching a largemouth, and then next cast catching a bowfin.
That's cool.
Yeah. So you don't know what you're going to catch and you get those tidal creeks and stuff. That's just cool. Yeah, you just get lost. Some of those places you got to go in with a GPS or you're not going to find your way out. You got to have GPS because it just looks cypress trees and lily pads everywhere as far as I can see. So I do miss that.
Brian, have you ever done any red fishing? I have not. Striper is the biggest thing I've ever really done. So,
I need to quit, but I listen to every episode of Dustin's segment, Chasing the Tide. I need to quit because I don't think he's done it in the past week or two, but he starts talking about cooking the fish and stuff, and it gets me hungry while I'm at work. But yeah, he talks about that red fishing, and I want to try it one day. It's on my bucket list. I've heard he actually just had a guest on recently and was talking about that, said that that red fishing or people that bass fish, but only do it because they can't red fish. and I was like, that shot's fired right there. I was like, but I got to try it just to find out. So
it's basically a redfish with a largemouth with shoulders on it. Telling you. I mean, and you fish for the same type of patterns. I mean, seriously, you just go and get like a 99-cent Walmart spinner bait, catch redfish on it all day long. You just got to find them, but it's fun. It's sight fishing for them, getting up in flats. It's an adrenaline rush. And the cool thing with like the Virginia Beach area there, Lower Bay, you're at the northernmost range of all the southern species, the southernmost range of all the northern species. So you catch a little bit of everything. And, you're not seeing everybody using like live shrimp and stuff like if you go way down south, but, gulp shrimp, or spinner baits, you still catch them. And pretty much a 12-month fishery too, especially if they're like stripers in the mix. So, I mean, that's still my passion, but I just kind of got hooked into it here And I love the Susquehanna. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I'm spoiled. I got it like 4 blocks that way.
I'm about 15 minutes away, so I'm not too far either. So
yeah, it's awesome.
Cool, man.
See, the only thing I'd say like bass fishing has, like, that I can tell you right now bass fishing has on red fishing is, at least bass fishing I can do it peacefully, knowing that there's not something that can eat me down in there. so
that's just fun, you know. If something can't get you.
I don't know, man. It's redfish. You also got those big center consoles with the, tourists and stuff in them too, and the weekend boaters and stuff will run you through a whole lot more than on a lake too. So I just that's another one too.
Yeah,
a lot of boat traffic.
you got a point there. I've had a wake boat come out of the channel, like when I was fishing off the channel on this hump. And I've had a wake boat pulling a skier come out of the channel, like just to come and go like 30 feet right in front of me and throw a big wave at me.
I've had a couple of close experiences too, and it makes you wonder what kind of people it takes to say, hey, you know what, I'm going to just buzz this guy over here. So
yeah, they may or may not have gotten a rude gesture from my hand.
Yeah, you won't ever have those experiences. All you need to do is go to the saltwater in New Jersey. Go to Jersey and fish for stripers, and you'll make a lot of friends.
Well, see, I've heard a lot of people talk about boats and like while they're in kayaks, boats messing with them and stuff. I really haven't experienced it a lot down here. I'm in Middle Tennessee. In the South, people seem to be, respectful for the most part, and most of the people that you run into, there's a good chance they're packing, so that makes you respect them a little more. So,
You've never been to Central Pennsylvania, have you?
Yeah,
no. But I am a Steelers fan. So, yeah, it's close enough, right?
Right. Same difference. No, I don't. There's parts that when I went down to Tennessee, and there's parts of Tennessee that totally reminded me of Central PA. Absolutely. So,
is it pretty like I don't know, like that? I'm trying to think of the words right now. I'm really bad with words tonight.
It's similar. Let's put it that
Never
way.
heard. Yeah, the first joke that I heard when I moved here, and I'm probably going to offend some people, but I'm actually from the South, and now I live in Pennsylvania, so I guess I can joke on both. I don't know. But the old saying is, Pennsylvania, you got Philadelphia and Pittsburgh with Alabama in the middle. That's it. I'm sorry. No offense. I love Alabama. I love Alabama. No, but I mean that really you go between Philadelphia and the Harrisburg is like that vertical East Coast line of the state, and out west you get like Altoona and Pittsburgh up to Erie. Everything in the middle, which is where like I am, they kind of like say, oh yeah, go to the big oak tree and hang a left and go 4 more miles. That's it. There's nothing here. You see these videos where people are saying, oh yeah, when you drive cross country, just gun it down to 80 to get across Pennsylvania, and then the rest of the country starts. Just because there's nothing here. I mean, it's wilderness. It's actually pretty cool if you like to fish, though. Don't get me wrong. It's great because it's a beautiful area if you like the outdoors. But if you don't like the outdoors, you don't want to hang out here long. So
yeah, I definitely feel way more at home in small town America than cities or urban areas. I'm like a fish out of water down there.
I miss the city, but yeah.
I haven't found many redeeming aspects, but I haven't spent much time in big cities either. So, what's that?
I was going to say that area you're talking about, that must be where all the red votes came from.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
This is Trump country.
It is.
Very much. Yeah, so, like Sean's just on the edge of this part of PA, and you go about 10 miles west of him, and you're in country.
Oh, yeah. It's well permeated in my area as well. So
yeah. It's like I-81. Everything west of that is like, yeah.
Yeah.
And don't get, like I said, you got the Susquehanna. You get this beautiful area. I mean, but like I said, if you don't like the outdoors, not much else to do in a lot of these small towns.
I kind of want to come visit now.
Dude,
Come on up, man. I got like 6 bedrooms, man. I got an extra bedroom right on the other side of the wall. Open door.
Hey, you must be doing really good on YouTube then.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go lift my kayak above my head right now.
Oh.
So another thing I wanted to ask you about YouTube, you have your daughter on quite a bit, and it's kind of cool because I've kind of watched her grow up. It's kind of weird. I have daughters too, and I've shared those videos with them to try, to get them to see, hey, other girls do this too, man. It's cool. You should definitely, and it's worked because they've come out kayaking with me now too. So I just wanted to say I think that's really cool that you involve her too, and she's got her own nickname. The Susky Shark, right? So
yeah.
Oh, I was going to say jelly.
No, toast and jelly? No. No, not quite, but
she's a nut. Yeah. I mean, yeah, we drive all over the country to tournaments and fishing. She's got that big shark head. And one time we was driving around a beach in Fort Lauderdale, and she's like, we're cranking the Little Mermaid soundtrack, and she's got that head on, like bobbing her head out the window right through freaking Fort Lauderdale. She's a nut.
That's awesome. How old is she?
What is she now? She's 15. Yeah, but she's been doing tournaments since she was old enough to walk. And then her older sister is like, several years older than her, and they look like twins. But so people getting confused. So Rose started doing a lot of tournaments like 15 years ago or so. Both of them have done pretty well. And then Rose is the one that started making rod socks. She had Rosie's rod socks, started doing that to make money for college. And now she's away in Utah in college. And Lila's, lives in the other room over that way. But yeah, whenever I'm out, I guess she'll actually put down video games and, come fish.
That's awesome.
She usually outfishes me.
See, now that I'm a little more experienced of a kayaker and stuff, I'm wanting to get my kids out with me more. My daughter, she's been out with me because I got her own little kayak. She's 11 and got her little sit inside kayak. And, we went out this summer, but this year I'm wanting to do a lot more with both of them. Put my son on my kayak with me and let him ride with me because he's 6. And I think that'd be fun, and I think that's awesome. Get your daughter out there with you and get them involved, and then even inspire them enough to make rod socks to help pay for college.
Yeah.
That's really awesome. And not only involved in fishing, but also help teach responsibility with that's really cool.
Yeah, and Lila's loves just being out in nature. Even if she's not catching any fish, I mean, I have to usually hunt her down. She'll usually go out on the river, find an island somewhere, and like an hour later, I got to just go find her because she's just playing around, daydreaming, building like stuff out of sticks and she's the type of kid where you could like take her, just throw her in the middle of like Alaska, and she'd find her way back in like a month and be like wearing like animal skins or something. She's 15. So she's not shy of nature at all.
There's definitely been times where when I've taken my daughters out, sometimes fishing is the last thing on their minds. They're playing bumper boats with the kayaks and all sorts of stuff. It kind of makes for tough fishing on my time, but as I still like seeing them have fun. And, I spent a lot of time, hey, why are you casting in the trees? The fish are in the water, that kind of thing. But still fun to get out with them and to share my love.
You cast in the tree?
No, definitely. So I remember the one time we went out with a pack of like 20 Senkos, and they were yum dingers. And by the time we came back, we didn't have too many left because they were hanging all over the place. So
no fish.
I think we had a few fish, but
not many.
Yeah.
You said that about bumper boats. I'm trying to remember. Didn't I do that to you at Dale Hollow?
When we were bumping, it's the same thing. I just can't get away from it.
I'm a big child.
One of those things, we'll go fishing. She'll catch a fish early on, and like, there you go, she shot, and she'll just float the rest of the day and just daydream. It's like, I caught my fish.
Yeah,
Done.
I have succeeded for the day.
That's all. I've done it. I can go home now. It's like we're a quarter mile down for the ramp. You
know, we've been out here 10 minutes.
See, I'm done now.
It happens. It happens. Yeah. So another thing I wanted to ask or talk about a little bit about is on your channel a lot, you do a lot of product reviews, and sometimes you find some really interesting products, some relatively inexpensive products in a wide variety of places. Can you talk a little bit about that and kind of some of the cool things you found and maybe some of the silly things that you found as well?
I think probably if you look at it from coolest to lamest, really, I mean, the coolest probably is when, and again, I'm not saying, I never say people have to go out and spend all their money and send it all overseas to China. It's just kind of neat. It's kind of fun to kind of see how much of that stuff's junk. But when you find something, it blows your mind that it's a total knockoff of something and it's actually decent quality. Like when the Whopper Plopper craze first started, as soon as he started making almost like straight up bootleg Whopper Ploppers over there, those are some of the cooler ones that I've seen. And then they got all sorts of different models of it and stuff. And of course, I feel guilty when I'm buying the stuff and showing it, but I'm mainly showing it to say, hey, you can pay, $250 for a exact replica of a Whopper Plopper, but if it actually gets to your house, though. So I don't know if I got any Whopper Ploppers. I don't know. I think I got them all out in the truck. But yeah, they work. Actually, do this. So yeah, I mean, you got exact replicas of stuff. I mean, and you're looking at a couple dollars for these things, opposed like $15 for some of these lures. I mean, there are these things like, I find some winners. Once in a while, you find a winner. Most of the stuff's total junk. I found lures, if you time it right, as cheap as like 1 cent with free shipping. And again, I think what they're trying to do is market it to people that are going to buy them in bulk, and they want to get you hooked like a crack addict or something. So they get you the first one, and then you're going to buy more. But yeah, some of those lures, especially the top water stuff, seems to be pretty cool. I tell the story, we've talked about it before. I had the one where I ordered a lure, and instead of getting a lure, I got these like glue-on eyelashes. Yeah, and it was all in like Chinese writing or something on it. It was probably toxic. Yeah. I showed my daughter, you want this? She's like, oh, heck no. Yeah. Straight in the trash. But yeah, it had like this little packet of like super glue looking stuff in it. It was a box, and
you should have super glued them onto a hook and seen if they caught a fish.
I didn't think about that. I was scared to take out a box, whatever it was. I ordered a box once for like my daughter's video game stuff, or Switch. Looks just like a Switch console box you'd buy at like a electronics store, and that thing smelled like, I don't know, it smelled like a freaking cigarette factory. I mean, it smelled for like 6 months. You get smelling under the house, but it looked nice. But yeah, some of the stuff some of the company like on AliExpress, the problem is they tell you, okay, you got to put your complaint in 3 months or you lose out, your time frames up. And there was one recently where I ordered a pulse width modulator for a trolling motor, right? And I got to like 2.5 months or whatever time frame it was. I said, look, this thing never showed up. They're like, oh, it's coming, just wait a little while. I'm like, dude, my time's up in like a week. So I emailed it back like the last day, and they're like, oh no, it's too late. There's like, pulse width modulator somewhere, I don't know, on a container in the middle of the Pacific.
Right.
Or it never got shipped.
Yeah. Who knows? Yeah, you never got the stuff shipped. But some of this stuff is, I've caught a lot of fish on some of these things, but I do put the caveat in there that, I'm not saying, promote the Chinese market over it. But I mean, the sad thing is I did a couple videos where I actually went into Walmart trying to find lures that were made in the U.S. and they're all made over there, and in those same factories. And a lot of this, where a lot of the stuff comes from. And as soon as I put up a video, so I was like, "Oh, you need to buy American." I'm like, "Show me some of these American lures, and I'll buy." I mean, I will, but unfortunately, a lot of even the big name manufacturers are still getting them from overseas. And again, they don't have all the patent laws over there, so they're bootlegging the stuff.
Right. And the way I kind of look at it is, the more money I save there, I can spend it on some, because I like to buy local too, like the small, like I just picked up a bunch of fit lures. I know they're kind of a local company around us that's been doing some good stuff. I got a bunch of stuff from 153 baits, but I also like to, just see. Now, you have to be careful, because I ordered this thinking it was going to be a tiny little spinner bait, and you can see it's relatively large. So you never know what you're going to get. So I've definitely had some winners and losers as well, but it still doesn't stop me from trying, because again, it's kind of cheap. So if you get something crappy, it's not the end of the world. And sometimes it takes a month to get here. I've gotten stuff quicker, but I've also had stuff take longer before too. But again, I think, it saves me some money so that I can spend, maybe a little more elsewhere and not feel as guilty about it. Plus, it's kind of like a surprise when, you forget you even ordered it, and a month later, you're like, "Hey, remember that?"
That had to happen, yeah. And I'll be honest, since all the COVID stuff and everything else, I'll be honest. If you had looked at it a year and a half ago and just gone into AliExpress or Wish or eBay and just typed in fishing and gone to the lowest, price, there was a whole lot more on it. I'll tell you, it's not on there like it used to be. And I don't know if it's because of COVID or just the international market or relationships with the U.S., but it's not. There's nowhere near as much stuff on there as there was just a year and a half ago prior to all the stuff going on in the world.
Interesting.
And yes, definitely know much more. There's my, my international business, story for us. But no, it's definitely not what it used to be. Lures that I used to find for like 49 cents are now like $1.49. The prices have gone up, and there's not as much variety for that stuff from overseas. And I think the sad part is I don't really understand. I'm sure somebody watching this knows more about the USPS than I do. But from what I understand, kind of like the U.S. Postal Service is probably taking the biggest hit on some of this stuff, because you order something again like that, free shipping on it, and you're paying below U.S. wholesale on it, but it's free shipping. You're buying it for less than it would actually cost to ship it. Now, of course, it's coming across here in a big, huge container, but once it gets offloaded off the port, it's still got to go on a truck and get across here to me and delivered by hand to my door. And because of arrangements with the Postal Service, that's what's hurting the economy.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think I can speak for pretty much everybody, especially in the fishing community, when saying like USPS don't know what's going on with USPS. So, I've seen so many complaints where like, I ordered something from an hour away and it ended up like 3-4 states away before it came back and came to my house.
You order it from an hour away and it goes to like 4 states away and then comes back because
I ordered a book for my wife for Christmas from Delaware. It went to California, came back. It took over a month to get here. So I was like, I ordered this from Delaware. It was crazy. I have no clue why it went to California first, but I was like, oh well, it's a well-traveled book at this point.
Yeah, they need to learn from Amazon. So.
We're not bashing USPS just for legal.
Yeah,
we love y'all.
Yeah. You're trying that, A for effort.
Yeah.
Another cool thing I think that I've seen on your channel a lot is when you strap on the fish cam and you show what these lures look like underwater. How did you get into using the fish cam? Just another thing to try, and that's been pretty cool, especially when you show the fish strikes. I'm always like, hey, look at that.
I'm kind of a nerd. I'm just a camera junkie, and I'm surprised I'm not divorced because of it. All of a sudden, you heard me over here fumbling around with all cameras hanging on the wall. But yeah, I'm on the Kuma Pro staff, right? So a few years ago, they had an arrangement with Waterwolf. So I started playing around with Waterwolf cameras, and I'm like, this stuff's pretty addictive. And then that arrangement went away, and I got picked up by Go Fish Cam. So now you're looking at a 1080p HD camera view underwater. It's even got a low light green LED on it. You can even sync it to your phone and everything. And just to troll around. And to me, the most addictive part, especially on the Susquehanna, is I can take that out and troll it around in the river for a couple hours and not realize I'm getting many bites at all, just throwing a swim bait or a crankbait behind me. And I actually see a bunch of all the fish follow, especially muskies. I never thought there were that many muskies in the Susquehanna. I knew there were a lot of them out there, but it just lets you understand that how many missed strikes you actually get, and you have no idea that they were even anywhere near you. So yeah, when I started using it just basically to help test the lures, and as you know, on a Susky, the problem the last couple of years has been that just haven't had clear water to use it.
Right.
That's a big challenge with those type of camera systems, but it's addictive. Just troll that thing behind you. I'm always scared to actually cast the thing because I've actually kind of lost one. You hear this pop, and you hear the splash way off in the distance. Yeah, so I try to troll it with 80-pound braid.
Okay, I was just going to ask what kind of setup you use for that, but yeah, that I figured it was something like that. I wouldn't want to lose them.
Yeah, I got really heavy duty braid on it with a big trolling rod. I just drag it behind the kayak with a motor, and yeah, that's usually what I do because I don't. Yeah.
Interesting. I thought about trying it for that same exact reason, just to see how many fish I'm actually going right over. I'm thinking there's nothing there, but they're there, and you just have no clue. So
yeah,
at least for my own sanity, if nothing else, to know that they're there, and that would probably be enough to, not that I'm going to quit, but to egg me on a little more. So
yeah, they're there, and especially the muskies. That's the coolest thing. And then somewhere you're not really sure what it is, but it's a blast. Especially seeing all the smallies in the river, but it's definitely cool. And you take it out in the saltwater, looking at all the stripers, getting out in schools, stripers. It's a blast. So I mean that's what I'm using the Go Fish Cam.
And it's kind of crazy to me that they actually follow it, because it is a pretty good sized chunk of thing floating in the water, and they don't seem to be too bashful about it at all. So, and
they'll strike at the camera, especially the muskies. I was up at Shinny, and I actually was just playing around there on a floating dock a couple of years ago, and had I think it might have been a large pike, but it was either a large pike or a small muskie. Actually struck the camera, not the lure, right next to the dock. And that was when I was actually casting and just playing around with it, after I was over at 5 Mountain Outfitters. And yeah, it struck at the camera, not the lure, the camera.
Wow.
You actually see in the gullet of the fish.
Huh. That's awesome.
Yeah. And you see those guys using them offshore too, seeing sailfish, and it's
right.
Cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where exactly is this camera? Is it down by the lure on your line?
It's in line above the leader. So you got your lure, you tie it off to a leader. The leader ties into the bottom of the camera, and it's kind of a torpedo shape, like a cigar shape, and then that ties to your main line.
That is cool.
Yeah, and you're just looking. It's a point of view, looking like you're actually looking at the lure, swimming at the camera like this, and something comes up behind and grabs it. So you see the fish come up out of nowhere and just grab it.
See, I haven't seen this, and so when you were first talking about it, I was like, well, maybe he's taking a camera and putting it down in the water off the side of his kayak or something. But no, that right there, you got to get a killer shot with that. I got. After we get done with this, I'm gonna have to go watch that.
Hold on, let me hit here. Sorry, I don't mean to keep jumping up on you guys, but
no worries.
I think I got it up here. That's not it. This is. Dang it. I got too many cameras to dig through. Sorry. Yeah, I really do have it here somewhere. Aha. So there, and I'm not trying to make a sales pitch, but you got your Go Fish Cam, which is here. So you actually got your lens, then you got your leader, then you got your lure. So you're tying off your main line up here, and then inside here, you actually put a micro SD card in it. You can hit record on here, starts flashing, and then if you're in low light situations, it's got an LED on there too to shine at the lure. And then even if you want to just, float bait or even ice fish, you got attachments like this that actually fit into it, and he actually works as a float on it, and actually works as a big bobber with that on it. But awesome. It actually is looking right at your lure. And then this gets strikes too because it's like a giant black plug.
So how much does that thing weigh?
Without going on the specs, not a whole lot. I don't know the exact specs on that, but a few ounces. I mean, it's not like it's like you figure how much is like a GoPro weigh, probably comparable.
So you're gonna want it on something like a heavy duty rod and everything, like
Yeah, I use a big musky rod or a striper rod with 80-pound braid, tie it straight off to that. I actually use a swivel up here, a big heavy swivel clip, and I clip it off, and then just a beast of a knot on it. And then here I use a lot smaller lower leader on it, so if I snag or get a bite off, I'm not going to lose the camera, but I'll lose a lure. So I don't want to use this because I've gotten that snagged on trees and stuff. And I'd rather break it off here than there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That's why, like in the past, I've kind of snapped them casting. But this is addictive. Yeah, it's a Go Fish Cam.
I might be checking that out. So, because I love those videos. Those are some of my favorites, just to see, again, the multitude of fish that are down there, that you never, like you said, you never have a clue how many are actually hitting your bait when, so.
Now, this past summer was tough on the Susquehanna because the river was so low.
Right.
So there was, like, in the doldrums of the summer, I was actually dragging this around, and I'd only see a few carp on it. So it's kind of weird. Sometimes you see a ton of fish, you don't think they're there, and sometimes you think, oh, there's fish here, and there's not. It's usually the latter. It's usually there are fish there and you don't realize it. But right. A few times, like, dang, why was I even fishing there?
Right. Well, that's good info to have too. So.
Yeah. And it tells you, like, I usually drag the thing along next to ledges. That's a lot of fun to see actually how they're actually positioning around a ledge. And, it's cool. It's fun. But, yeah, you get on that video and just sit there for hours just watching it. You're like, come on, there's got to be something there. And you're like for hours just watching a lure from the front. But, yeah.
Cool. So, I was going to ask you about your favorite ways to fish on the Susky. What's your go-to lures? I know it probably changes up by time of year, I'm sure, but what's some of your favorite ways to fish?
I'd probably get disowned by most of my friends if I don't say it's a spinnerbait. But okay. I'm a spinnerbait guy. For smallies, I like to use a smaller style of spinnerbait. But I'll just throw pretty much any type of spinnerbait for them. If I'm not throwing a spinnerbait, obviously Sinkos, stick baits are perfect for it. Craw baits, grubs. I go old school, just throw a grub once in a while. But my main bait is probably just a spinnerbait until they're not moving and active. Probably from late October through the winter into the early spring, hair jigs. So I kind of transitioned straight from a spinnerbait to a hair jig.
Yep.
If I just had those two lures in my tackle box, I wouldn't have to have anything else for the whole year.
That's
spinnerbait
cool.
and hair jig, and then dead of winter blade baits.
I have not played with blade baits much on the river. I've used them mostly on the lakes around me, but mainly because I, was snagging and losing them a lot on the river when I was playing with them.
But I buy them on AliExpress.
I have started. I have a couple upstairs I could run up and grab, but
And shameless plug, if you want some American-made hair jigs, you can go to jigmasters.com and pick some up there.
I was going to say that I just got an order of. I got some of those small spinners. Did you see those small spinners on there?
I
think that's going to be a Smalley smasher. Yeah, absolutely. They're really cool. So, among other things, I did get one of those really hairy jigs. It's got like a crazy amount of hair on it. But
my hair jigs are all domestic. I don't have any foreign hair jigs, that I can think of.
Most of mine are Mike Reinhold specials that I bought off of him. He was actually just on the Reel Down representing Central PA for kayak anglers, and I've bought quite a few off of him. So all mine are as well. So,
well, real quick, Sean, I got to ask you: did you order any of the Jig Masters underspins?
Yes. Hold on, let me run upstairs. I'll grab them. I'll show you what I got. It's cool. I'll be right back.
I'm not the only one that runs away from the camera.
It happens from time to time.
I'm surrounded by junk in here, and I gotta
So while he's gone, I had a question. Your YouTube is Fish Yacker.
Yep.
Was that the original name you came up with whenever you first started it way back in the day, or did you end up changing it?
Alrighty, so
it's always been Fish Yacker. Fish Yacker since day one. Yeah, I jumped on that. Yeah, it was weird because back then there were still domain names. There were a lot of domain names that were still out there, and there were a few of us that were jumping on them. But yeah, I registered fishyacker.com in like 2005, something like that. Yeah, and then the channel was able to get Fish Yacker. Yeah.
All right, Sean, we're filling the time waiting on you.
All right,
you got here.
So first of all, here's the cool little spinner that I think is going to be a Smalley killer. Look at that. That's got everything that you want there. It's got the marabou and the spinner. I think that's going to be money.
That's nice.
That's actually a really big spinner. That's actually a really big spinner. It just looks small compared to Sean's giant.
No, this is the really big spinner. And then, so here's the crazy hairy hair jig. So I'm excited to try that too. I got some of the underspins here. I don't know if you can see that. I got gold because I like the gold on the river. I have better luck with gold.
That's what I caught my PB with.
These guys, right? Cool. Let's see what else do I got. I got this, which is like the swinging head spinner bait. Do you see that at all, Brian?
Nice. Swinging head spinner bait?
Yeah. So let me open that one too. I think it's a swing head with a underspin.
Oh, the swimming spin.
Yeah. So it's got
it's a swim jig with the little underspin.
Yeah. So it's a free swinging underspin. So
yeah, I got some of those.
And lastly, I got some of the swinging football head thing. So just to try those too. So yeah, I definitely got a lot of cool stuff. Lots of toys. So yeah, Jig Masters, guys, check them out.
Yeah, see, I actually got a big order from them not too long ago. So, and I don't think I've been out since I got that order. So,
I have not either.
For the moment.
I'm chomping at the bit to get out and try some of these. That's the bad thing. When I can't fish, I shop, and that's bad. That's bad.
Dude, I was terrible when COVID first hit and I was out of work for 3 months. I can't tell you how much stuff got ordered off Amazon and wherever else. Boredom shopping.
I hear you, man. I'm still the same way. That's why I kind of started checking out the AliExpress stuff, because then I don't feel quite so guilty when it's $5 instead of 20.
My wife just gets driven nuts when she sees like 30-cent charge on a checking account, 60-cent charge.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, but I'm only spending $10 this month. She's like, yeah, but it was like 47 different, transactions.
That's awesome.
Not exactly building up the credit card points, but So, well, cool, man. I think I'm trying to think of anything else I wanted to talk about. Is there anything you wanted to cover, John, that we haven't talked about?
I don't know. I'm just here to ramble. I can talk forever. I mean,
I know I wanted to give you a chance to shout out all your sponsors, the teams that you're on, because I know you're on quite a few teams of pro staffs and stuff. So I wanted to give you a chance to, definitely shout out your YouTube channel and everything else.
Cool.
So where can we find you?
Well, you can find me online at fishyacker.com, or if you go to the YouTube Fishyacker channel, it's youtube.com/fishyacker. And yeah, I'm all over Facebook and Twitter and Instagram too, under John Oast.
Oh, I know. Another thing I wanted to talk about was that lately you've been doing some kind of cool where you stash some prizes out, like scavenger hunt, almost like I was into geocaching a lot before fishing.
Oh,
Took a lot of my free time, and so it kind of reminds me of that. So for anybody who doesn't know or hasn't seen it, he likes to put some swag out basically in a place where somebody might be able to look at the video and say, hey, I know that spot, and go pick it up. And I think from what I've read, it seems to disappear pretty quickly.
Yes.
So I think people are getting accustomed to kind of where to look for these things, but I think that's cool. So people will pick up maybe some Fish Yacker stickers or other things like that you leave, maybe some lures and stuff, some of your treasures that you find on AliExpress and stuff. So I thought that was kind of cool as well.
I can't use them all.
True.
I actually got some pretty cool stuff I'm going to start stashing out there too, and hopefully it'll start warming up before long, make it a little bit more challenging. But yeah, it was my way to clean up and do some midwinter spring cleaning.
Makes me wish I lived just a little bit closer to you. I'm like, because every time I'm like, there's no way it's going to be there by the time I would make it up there.
Normally I'm traveling all over the country this time of year, but of course I work in healthcare. It's my fault. That's how I pay most of the bills. So I can't travel. Our governor, I'm not getting into politics, of course, so you can't leave Pennsylvania unless you come back with a negative COVID test, or quarantine for 2 weeks.
Quarantine for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So I haven't even been home to Virginia to see my family in over a year. And it's been just crazy. I've been working more than ever my entire life, but I can't get out of the state to do anything. And it's like the frozen tundra here right now. I mean, there's ice on the Susquehanna as of this morning. There's ice flows.
Yep, I saw that video and I was like, no.
Depressing.
Yes. So, well, cool, man. And again, what kind of pro staffs? And I know New Canoe is one. You mentioned Akuma. You're still on there. And who else are you associated with?
Yeah, New Canoe, Akuma, Yak Attack. It's a number of different sponsors I'm on. Obviously, we talked about Go Fish Cam. But enough, I don't know. This is a lot of different companies I've dealt with over the years. But the primary ones are Akuma, New Canoe, Yak Attack. And I know Soft Steel, I'm going to be doing some more stuff with them this year. Akuma's kind of branched out some more, trying to get their own lure lines out there and lines too. So, yeah.
Cool, man.
Awesome.
Well, go ahead, Ryan. Do you have anything?
No, I was just going to say it's been a pleasure having you on. I'm glad you came on here and talked with us. We'll have to get you back on here again sometime. We actually talk about some fishing technique. We didn't get into that a whole lot. We still covered some cool stuff. But
yeah, just say when. I'm if I'm not at work or on the road, I'm here, and I'm not on the road much anymore until everything slows down.
Yeah.
And I'm still looking forward to getting out and fishing with you sometime if you're ever down in my area, or if I head up that way, let me know. I'm always looking for new people to fish with. So
absolutely, you're not that far. You're not that far. Come up here anytime, or I'll come down there. Like I said, right now there's ice on the river, but
right.
I know some eddies that we can still fish. So
it kills me just the amount you catch right from the dock that you usually, or the ramp that you use. I'm like, I have fished at ramps like that a million times, and it seems like every time you go there, you catch something.
Yeah, I know the fish personally.
It's nice that he just hang out waiting for you.
Like, hey,
Over.
I'm recording a video. Can you like help me out, bro?
All right.
Like swimming for him or something. It's like 20 holes in the lower lip or something. He does the same fish every day.
All right. Well, thanks again for coming on here. And everybody, thanks for listening. This has been the Bass Fishing for Noobs segment on the Paddle and Fin podcast, bringing you the techniques, tricks, and tips to help you rip more lips. Later, y'all.
See you guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for tuning in to another killer episode on Paddle and Fin. Don't forget to go check out our website at paddle_and_fin.com. Don't forget to check out the YouTube channel at Paddle and Fin. If you got a question, comment, want to hear from a future guest on a future episode, feel free to email us at paddle_and_fin@gmail.com. Don't forget to follow us on social media at Paddle and Fin on Facebook and Instagram. Shout out to our show supporters, Angler. The Angler button and app just makes for a better time on the water and creates a virtual logbook for every fishing outing out on the water. Shout out to Rocktown Adventures, located in northern Illinois, for all your kayaking, camping, and hiking needs. Shout out to Jig Masters Jigs. When in doubt, get the jig out. Go to jigmasters.com